Thanks, everyone. Here we are again. We're going to spend a fun hour together. I'd like you guys to unmute your phones when you have something to say, just like Joseph said. So really, it's about us learning together and learning from each other. So relax, get your feet up, go get something to eat, get something, maybe your chocolate stuff, stash, because that's what we're going to talk about today. Self-care. Self-care and therapist burnout. Why are we talking about this? It's so important and we all need it. Some of us don't really do it that well. Some of us do an excellent job with this. But today, my goal is for you to learn or to just do one thing different. Hopefully, you can leave this session, you can leave this presentation with, I got to do one thing different. And I hope that you do that. Don't just say, it's in my list. I want you to do it. Whatever that is, please do it. Before we start with our presentation, I've got a little bit of a test for you, little quiz for you. So give yourself 1 point if you are going to respond yes to these questions. And let's see how you do. The person in the left is a therapist. Hopefully none of us. But you've got also the scoring on the left. But let's see. I'm going to read the questions. Have fun with yourself. Be generous to yourself. This is to help. I'm going to help you out with this, but let's see how we do. How many of us took the day off yesterday? It was a holiday. Actually, if you want to make it fun, throw some numbers on the chat. Let's see. Let's make fun of each other now. I worked yesterday. I wanted to take it off, but I had to work. So, all right. Worked only for a couple of hours. You did better than I did. I actually worked longer hours yesterday. Took the day off. Excellent. Kind of. I was on call. Got it. Okay. Some of us worked, some of us took it off. Great. Okay. Well, the ones who took it off, give yourself a 1. I don't know if you were tired and you just said, yeah, I'm not going to work. If you actually had to come to work, or if you just took the day off because you had in mind, this is my day to do self-care. It doesn't matter. Give yourself off if you take, give yourself a 1 if you took the day off. Let's go to the second question. Do you ever tell yourself you should really talk to someone about your work-life balance? If you do, give yourself a 1. When you feel overwhelmed, do you find yourself saying, and how does it make you feel? Is that working for you? If it is a yes, give yourself a 1. Have you ever diagnosed yourself with too much therapy syndrome? What would your inner child say about your self-care routine? Mine will not really be a great one. How many self-help books are in your nightstand? If you have at least one, give yourself a 1. Do you practice positive affirmation when you are brushing your teeth in front of your mirror? When was the last time you used the phrase, clinician, heal thyself? Do you have a secret stash of chocolate for therapy emergencies? How often do you tell yourself, I should really practice what I preach? All right, you've got 10 questions here. How did we score? Throw some numbers there, people. Let's see. Let's have fun. Anybody got this? Okay, I've got a 40%, 20%. All right. Anybody got a 70%? All right, let me help you out then. Remember the time that you were talking to your client, you were teaching your client about maybe setting some boundaries or maybe taking a day off. Oh, Paulette got a 5. Nice. That's a higher score, I think. But remember the day when you were talking to your clients about maybe setting some good boundaries, maybe practicing some good management skill, anger management skills or stress management skills. And the client says to you, do you practice those things yourself? And you responded with, it's not about me, it's about you. Well, you're not going to ask me because today it's not about me, it's about you. Well, guys, if you scored 70 or higher, get back to work. You had too much time off. You've got to work. If you are 40 or 69 in that bracket, I think you taught your clients well, but you need to learn to practice what you preach. 20 to 39%. You definitely need to be in this presentation. You guys need to learn, or maybe go home and take a bubble bath. You choose. If you got really less than 20%, really, is that bad? Maybe you have given too much good advice to clients. All right, well, let's start with our presentations. Again, we've got a 6 in here. I think that's the highest. Adriana, woo, Adriana Antonelli, 60%. Okay, well, all of us need to learn a little bit more about self-care. So today, you guys just choose something that you can learn and you can practice. All right, we're in the process. We're in the business of helping others. We are clinicians, but we're also humans. Remember that. While we are dealing with our own challenges, we're trying to help everybody else who is in distress, who needs the help that we can provide. And being a safe person really comes with its own cost. What do we experience? And here's the time that you can also use the chat, and you can actually unmute yourself as well. But here are some of the things that I found out as we deal with the burnout. These are some of the things that we experience: fatigue, vicarious trauma from our own clients, unwanted emotions, because at times, most often, we feel a lot of emotions that our clients feel. We have our own financial obligations that gives us quite a bit of stress, especially for the ones who are in private practice. They need to have a certain amount of clients every week. They need to make a certain amount of income so they can support their own family. We do it because we have altruistic reasons. Regardless of how we feel, regardless of how tired, how burnout we are, we keep going because we say that client needs help. We keep going, but at our own cost. We see a need. And usually the need increases when there is more stress in the general population. The more people struggle, the more burnout we feel as therapists, because it's really coming on us. That burden, it's really on us. We struggle because we see self-care as an optional. It's really something that, okay, it's something that I need to add to my busy schedule, and I just don't have time for that. So the more we don't make the time to add those self-care activities, the more we struggle. And we also see it as a selfish thing. It's not okay for me to take care of myself. Yes, it is. And we're going to talk about this taking care of ourselves today. Organizational strain and moral distress too, absolutely. And we'll talk a little bit about organizational strains, Tammy, but you are right. You're right on point with that. There are so many other things that give us stress. Remember, we are humans before we are clinicians, and everything that others are feeling, we are feeling it on top of our own additional stress that we are experiencing. All right. What causes burnout? Lack of work and life. Some people call it balance. I actually like to call it harmony, and we'll talk a little bit about this in a minute. But it's really that we're spending too much time at work. And sometimes we're spending little time with our families. Caseload size. How many clients are you taking care of? If you are in private practice and you need to actually make a certain amount of income, then you are probably increasing your caseload size. With every client that you increase, the stress, the burnout increases. Documentation. Everywhere we go, in every single setting that you are going to work, documentation is there. And as therapists, we do a great job with wanting to meet with people, wanting to meet with our clients, spending that time with our clients. But documentation is also one way that we can advocate for our clients. And for some of us, it's a harder thing to do, because at 5 o'clock, if you really push for one more session, Now you've got to get documentation. And if you don't get it because something comes up, then you have to do it on the weekend. And if you don't get it there, then more stress increases. Case management. Some of you are handling cases that are not just therapy. They are really heavy on case management. Some of you are dealing with suicidal clients, and some of you are having borderline personality disorder that need a little bit more work with them even outside of the sessions. So all of those things are going to impact your burnout. All of those things are going to impact the stress that you are going to feel. Lack of job control. How many of you have control over how many sessions you're going to do, what kind of tasks you are going to do today? For me, there are so many days that I come to work with a to-do list and it's just completely different than what I planned. So really that control, I have it most of the times, but there are days that I don't. And how do we deal with that particular day when we have lost control over what are the duties of my job? Because as in every job description, there are other duties as assigned, and we don't just have control of all of what our clients will need today. Sometimes how many sessions or how long am I going to spend with that particular client? One of my very good friends is in private practice, and one of the things that she feels the most is the isolation. Actually, the other day she called me and said, I wanted to call you and celebrate. Sometimes we call each other um, to just talk about difficult cases and basically kind of like that supervision. Um, and she called to celebrate because she said, I don't know how else to celebrate. I cannot write it on any media account because it's breaking confidentiality. But I wanted to celebrate. And isolation does not really provide you so many opportunities to celebrate the progress that you are making as a therapist with your clients. So that's one of the causes of burnout. Um, Technology today, just before we started this presentation, I could not get my computer to work. As you can see, I don't have a presentation view. You can see the slides on the side, and we just said, you know what, it's just fine. We're going to go with that. I don't want to let that get in the way of our presentation and have a good time today. But technology can be frustrating. As great as it is, sometimes it can be a cause for stress and burnout. How many of you have lost group notes? You did the notes and something happened and they're gone and you have to start from the beginning. And that's annoying. Complex cases, how much attention they need from you. I've got so many items in here and you can read, so I'm not really going to go over these, but I'd like to bring your attention. There are two sides of the work of the therapist. Do we have any managers, supervisors, directors in this particular audience? If you are a director, a supervisor, a manager, we've got some other stresses. You've got inadequate staffing. And what are you going to do with that? When you don't have enough people working on the floor, then you have to go there. On top of your own responsibilities, you've got to take care of the patients, of those therapists who are not at work today for different reasons. I end up working extra to compensate. Absolutely. Yes. We've got clinical supervisors. What do you do when your supervisee is not quite getting it? When your supervisee is not quite understanding the duties of the job, you're spending extra time to help them understand what they need to be, what do they need to do. You've got low performing employees who for managers, for supervisors you're going to spend extra time. You've got extra stress. So when we think about cases of burnout, it's quite a bit. Turnover, job gets very difficult, therapists go somewhere else. Turnover impacts the supervisor, impacts the whole team. When therapists leave, then we've got a whole caseload to manage. Nobody likes turnover. It really creates a lot of things, a lot of issues for the whole team. And then we just bang our heads somewhere. How many of you thought that socio-demographic factors and intrapersonal factors like age, gender, race, personal ability to cope, flexibility, they also have an impact on how we deal with our stress and how do we deal with our burnout? Uh, some research, actually, you've got at the end of this presentation, you've got 2 slides. You're welcome. 2 slides of resources for you to read at your leisure time. But one of the articles that I was reading is African American therapists were experiencing quite a bit of burnout recently because other therapists from different races, from different backgrounds, could not quite understand the stresses that African American clients were experiencing. So the white therapists were going to the African American therapists to get some supervision about how do we work with those, with this clientele, with this population, how do we understand the cultural differences. So there was a little bit more strain, a little bit more stress, more burned out that those African American therapists were feeling because they were providing supervision to therapists from different races, from different cultures. What do we experience? Great feelings, overwhelm, hopelessness, helplessness, resentment, compassion fatigue. All of us at some point have experienced all of those particular feelings. And what's the impact of this burnout? Stress. It takes the joy out of work. When you really get up in the morning and say, I have to go to work, you're not in a good place. You've got to do something. But something that I'd like to get your attention to is lack of creative thinking and professional impairment. When you are so stressed out, you just cannot think critically. You cannot just think creatively. You become that supervisor, you become that employee, you become that director that just goes through the motion, and you don't have time to actually think about what would be the best for my client, what would be the best for my department, what would be the best for this supervisee. And when we are not thinking about what is the best for my client, what is the best for myself, what is the best for my supervisee, what's best for my team, then we know that our decisions might not be the most ethical decisions. That's why today we're going to talk a little bit about ethics. Burnout impacts our professionalism. We really become impaired when we are feeling burned out. Here is some interesting things that I found in my research. We go from our active, evidence-based treatment to very passive listening interventions. Nobody wants to be that therapist that can say to the client, yes, that's all. We also need to be helping them. But when we are feeling burned out, it's just like the oxygen mask. If we cannot take care of ourselves, there is no way we can take care of others. So just keep that in mind. If you are finding yourself that you are just doing the then I wonder if you are feeling burned out. So just some self-evaluation. We're becoming less attuned, less sensitive to our clients' needs, less empathetic therapists. Nobody wants to become that kind of therapist. When we started in our profession, we really wanted to become the best therapist out there, and we are the best therapist out there. But there are times that our burnout is going to impact our judgment, our clinical judgment, our professional judgment. So, and when we are not feeling great about ourselves, our clients are not going to take us seriously. Really, is if we are giving suggestions and I'm this burned out therapist who is going to say, yeah, take some time off. If I'm not really practicing what I'm preaching, my clients are not going to take me seriously. More distracted, absolutely. We are not there. If you are not going to be feeling good about yourself, if you are so burned out from the workload that you are doing, from the care that you are providing, yes, you are going to be more distracted, less attuned to the patient's needs. All right. Why don't we do self-care? We're talking about this, but we don't do it because we think it's only for the weak. We think it's only for those who have the time. We think sometimes it's only for those who just want to numb themselves. Well, it's an unjustified luxury. In reality, it's not. It's an ethical duty. That's where we get to the ethics of our presentation. Let's read this because I don't think that I can say any better than these guys did. Mental health therapists have an ethical duty to provide responsible and caring services, maximizing benefits and minimizing harm for their clients. In order to provide effective care to their clients, practitioners must first be well themselves. We all know this, but do we do it? Really, guys, think about this. It's an ethical duty we have, just like it is ethical for us to be the best we can for our clients. This is our ethical duty as well, that we take care of ourselves so we can provide the best services for our clients. It is an ethical and imperative duty for our profession. Instead of really seeing it as a self-indulgence, maybe one way to look at self-care is to see it as part of our craft. It's not about just for the weak who need it, it's for everyone. All right, code of ethics. Some of you who are in supervision, are supervising, are right out of school, are probably a little bit more well-versed when it comes to the code of ethics. What do our professional standards say? Therapists are taught to act in accordance with professional standards. We know that, but our professional standard is also that self-care is our ethical duty. So even though we want to be ethical therapists, we're kind of lacking on one area. We're not taking care of ourselves. It is our ethical duty. Code of Ethics addresses burnout, and mental health clinicians are encouraged to seek assistance for issues that may impair work performance and clinical judgment. Burnout is going to impair our work performance and clinical judgment. Okay, so we've got a therapist. Think about a therapist. It might be you or somebody else who is feeling burned out. Whose responsibility is for that therapist to start taking care of themselves? What do you guys think? Who's got a responsibility to help the therapist? The therapist. It's our own responsibility, themselves, self, therapist, ours. Okay, you're right. Therapist is number one. The therapist has the responsibility, the ethical responsibility. The employer has a responsibility. I agree with you guys. Starts with the individual. We are the ones we are aware of how we're feeling. Also, the employer has a responsibility. The supervisor has a responsibility. The clinical director has a responsibility. Honestly, truth be told, how many times do we see somebody who is struggling and we say, go home, we got it. You need a day off, we got it. It's very difficult. Why? We need to cover their caseloads. We need to see all of their clients. But at the same time, we have a moral obligation. We have a professional obligations as co-workers, as supervisors, as clinical directors, as human beings. If you see somebody who is not in their best behavior, think about it. It's not just Vjollca is having a bad day. If Vjollca is having a bad day, Vjollca's care to the patient is going to be impaired. So if we are going to be in the business of being ethical and taking care of our clients, when we recognize a therapist, a coworker, a supervisor, a director who is feeling stressed out, burned out, it is okay to say, do you need to walk around the block? Go get a drink. Hopefully not alcohol. Just go 30 minutes, go drive around. Maybe take the day off. I don't know. Different people are at different places and you know your needs, but when is that last time that we said to a therapist, take some time off because you need it? And I'll tell you this, when somebody from my team says, hey, I need some time off, as much as I say, yes, you do need it. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. The second thought is, oh gosh, who's going to cover? Who's going to cover for your patients? Two different demands, two different goals. But it is our ethical responsibility. Now, the third part, so we've got the therapist who is responsible. We've got the organization, which is supervisors, co-workers, clinical directors, anybody, but also the client. We also have clients who are responsible when they see their own therapist who is not there, who needs a day off. It is okay for clients to also say, it seems like you do need a day off. Sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't do it. It really depends on what kind of relationship we have with them. If we have a client that we have a great relationship, that we have opened it up to them and say, give me the feedback that I need, and hopefully we can take it seriously, that when a client says, I don't think you're on your best today, and how can you give me advice when you are not practicing, you are not doing what you are teaching me to do. So it is okay for our clients. So really, I'm an MFT guy, so it's really a systemic. It's not just one person, the therapist, organization, client. Family members sometimes have the responsibility to tell us, are you really doing okay? Can you take care of your clients for the day? So lots of people who are going to help us with being ethical and providing great care to our clients, but we also need to let them know, if you see me not in my best, please let me know, help me out. All right, what are some of the barriers to self-care? You know what, I kind of go, this is like a vicious cycle, perpetual cycle, financial and time, especially if you are in private practice. But all of us, we know we chose a profession that we get a lot of blessings, we get a lot of joyful moments, especially when our clients do so well. But we're not here for the money, and we all know that. And some of us have private practices that are thriving, and some of us are building. So everybody's in different places, but financial, we've got a need to make money. We've got a need to support our families. And the more that financial need, the more hours we are required to put in the profession. Um, we don't have time because we spend so much time with our clients or at work. Um, if I don't work, I don't get paid. You got it. Yep. Yes. But if I don't put the more time I put, the less time I have to do leisure stuff or to do other things that are important. The less time I have, the less energy I have to be with my family. So it's really a perpetual cycle. Which one comes first? I don't know. Time and finances are kind of neck and neck together. But sometimes we don't engage in self-care because we perceive it as it is selfish. And I've got to go there. I've got to save the world. Well, you guys, you don't have to save the world. You can save it, but one person at a time. But the first person that you need to save is also yourself. Remember, you're not the only therapist in this world or in this city. There are some other people who can help as well. So if we can all share the load, so we don't really see those barriers. Instead of seeing barriers to self-care, maybe we could shift our thinking to what opportunities do I have? So tonight or today, after this presentation, don't look at, well, I don't have the time. Think about, how do I make the time, even if it is a small thing. And everybody's self-care activities are different. When we think about self-care, mine are not necessarily things like go get a massage or get my nails done. Mine are quite different. We'll talk a little bit about this, but one of my best self-care activities is being organized at work, because I know that when I'm organized at work, I have more control over my job and I can do my job much better. Yesterday I had to be even more aware. Last night I had to be even more aware of what I'm preaching today. I'm not going to tell you what time I went to bed last night. It was late, but at the same time, as I was going in my evening, I just learned about something that it made me frustrated. And I have a dog who has been the best thing ever. I took my dog and I went on a long walk. And to me, just being outside in the nature, it's the best self-care that I can ever do. I didn't need a massage, maybe some chocolate, and that helped. But just walking out and being out in the nature with the dog, getting a little bit of exercise, it was the best thing ever. So, okay. Well, we talked about self-care is something that we have to do. Our professional standards, our code of ethic takes basically tells us we have to do it, and there is a reason why. If you really think about why do I have to engage in self-care? Well, this is what we can get when we do self-care: greater well-being, increased quality of life. Who does not want that? Increased quality of life. Higher level of positive affect, flourishing. I love that word, flourishing. Not just surviving, flourishing. Greater sense of personal accomplishment. This is one of my favorites. Lesser tendency to depersonalize clients. I love that because really, it really talks about we are to that point that we are attentive. We are attuned with our own needs. We are attuned with the client needs. We really are looking at the clients as human beings for who they are, what they are bringing to the therapy session, and we're the best we can for them rather than just depersonalizing them and sometimes kind of classifying them. Okay, depression, I know how to work with that. This kind of diagnosis, I know how to do that. Everybody is the same. We really have a higher job satisfaction, higher quality of life. All right. Okay, this is when you are going to make some commitment, you guys. Start small, but do it. Find something that you can do today. Build it in your daily routine. Take 5 minutes, go out on a walk around your building. Go eat an apple. Look at a flower. Um, Look at Facebook for 5 minutes. I don't know. Whatever you think self-care is for you. But maybe just take a break during the day. Just break your day into smaller routines. Do what your body is telling you. Pay attention to that. And do it earlier so you don't really take care of your stress when it has gone from a 1 to a 10 and you are kind of hard to distress when you are so full of emotions. Take care of those things earlier enough. All right. Aspects of self-care. I'd like to spend a little bit of time in this, and you've got this article in the resources, but I love this one. This author saw self-care into 3 different domains: care for the therapeutic self, care for the managerial self, and care for the career self. And I absolutely love this. It's a recent study, which is great, but care for the therapeutic self. How do we see self-care? What kind of attitude do we have? Is it something that, we just don't have time for it? If you think that way, then you're not going to take care of yourself. I talked to you a little bit earlier about my best self-care is being organized at work. That is the care for the managerial self. It really helps me with that control of my day, control of my job, but also care for the career self. Are we getting any professional support? Are we taking any client that we, just because we want income, we're going to take anyone? Maybe we can be selective of clients. If you have a full caseload, but you want more money, you have to make a decision. Do I want more money or do I want to keep my own sanity? You know what? Recently I had somebody who called me and said, I'm looking for a therapist. Said, okay, what are your issues? And he goes, well, before I tell you about my issues, let me tell you, I fired 5 therapists. They did not do a good job. Okay. And I said, all right, I can see a therapist who does not know what they are doing. And then I said, well, I guess that therapist needs a friend, has a friend. So I can see 2 therapists who don't know what they're doing. And then I said, well, who's the third one? Maybe their supervisor. We got to blame somebody, right? Maybe the supervisor did not teach them well. And I said, okay, here are three. Who is my fourth? I guess the clinical director. Um, I don't know. I don't know. But the fifth one, who doesn't know what they're doing, it's still a mystery to me. So if you find that fifth one, let me know. And then it dawned on me and I said, and why would I be different than these other five therapists that you fired? To me was, do I want to be the sixth therapist who is going to get fired? Actually, it worked out pretty good. I was going in a very long vacation, and I said, I won't be here for about 2 weeks. If you want to work with me, we will start later. And they said, no, I want this week. And I said, sorry, then I'm not the right therapist for you. But at the same time, if there are cases that require a lot of work on your side, a lot of attention, maybe you don't have the right training and you are going to spend more time getting the training to treat that client. Or maybe you know right away that this is a client who is going to be very difficult and you are not on your best. You are not, basically, you're not having the time, you're not making the time to take care of yourself. Is this the client you want to take? It is okay for you guys to be selective of clients and to say, no, I do not have the time. Somebody else will take that client unless you need it for the money and it's a toss off. So, finances or more time for you and your family. Okay. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about self-care as an ethical thing to do, but also it's going to be as an active approach. So really, you've got to think about self-care not at the very end when you are completely burned out. You've got to think of self-care early enough, and you have to identify those activities that bring you joy, that relax you early enough. So when you are at a 10 out of 10, you are completely feeling like you're going to quit your job. You want to just not go, not show up at work. You're going to, if you know those activities right away, you say, hey, wait a minute. I know what gives me satisfaction. I know what keeps me going. And the more you do them little by little, if the more you even if you spend 5 minutes taking care of your emotional, mental, physical, spiritual health, even if you spend 5 minutes a day, you're going to find that you're not going to be at a 10 out of 10 when it comes to burnout. So being proactive with your self-care means doing something small every day. And you know what? I said every day. You might not do it every day. Don't feel guilty if you don't have a day that you are not going to engage in self-care. Things happen. Again, remember, we are human, just like our clients that we help. We also have our own stresses. We are human. So don't feel guilty. Try to build that routine. Try to build the self-care into your routine, daily routine. But at the same time, think about this. We are a work in progress rather than basically the end product. Implement those rituals to turn off that work switch. How many of you are good at saying, I'm done with work. Work is at work. I'm going home. For some of us, that drive is great. Listening to audiobooks or whatever, listening to music, whatever really helps you. For some of us is great. Some people have a ritual of going to the gym after work. I wish I was you. I'm not there yet. Um, but for some people who work at home, what could be a good ritual for you? Um, how do you think about how can you create that separation between work and home if your office is at home? Maybe go for a ride at the end of the day. I don't know. You think about this. You've got to decide how you got to decide what you do to really implement that routine and to say, this is my me time. This is my self-care time. And it helps if you actually are labeling it as this is my me time or my self-care time, not just, yeah, I'm going to take some time off. Label it. So it's good. I make sure I always go outside to get the mail to make sure I leave my home office. Excellent. Turn off the computer, shut the door, and change my clothes. I love this. Absolutely. Yep, change my clothes. Hey, yep, that's great. I hope you get into your pajamas so it's comfortable or your shorts. That's great. Okay. Um, prioritize certain things, you guys. The more you prioritize, let's say if your son, you know what, My prioritizing, I've got two boys who engage in some sport events. And when we have a sport event, it is a sport event. We go there. It's a priority. Anything can happen. There have been days that even though it's nice to have some extra cash from my private practice, but there have been days that I've said, nope, I've got to block this day because I've got a family thing going on. And it has been good to just say, I feel good about this. I have prioritized my family. So if you really make it a priority, it will help. Now, I do understand that for some of you, finances are a little bit tight and you have to take care of. You do what you need to do, but make sure that you build some, you build some you build in your daily routine some of those activities. Okay. All right. A good one, an important one is also professional development. Make sure that you connect with supervisors, therapists who you are close to that can provide some of that consultation for you. Go to conferences. Conferences are not just work. Conferences are also self-care because you are learning from those conferences. And the more you learn, the better therapist you are going to be. Instead of you struggling about, oh, what am I going to do with this client and stressing out about this, the more you learn, the more knowledge you have, the better you are going to be as a therapist. Focus on self-care as self-compassion. Be good to yourself, be nice to yourself. Celebrate those progress that you are making as a therapist, different milestones. Also celebrate the progress from your clients. And remember, we're all people before we are professionals. So you're going to fall short, but as long as you get up and keep going, that will be just fine. Okay. We don't have a lot of times, so I'm going to go, you're going to get the slides. So I'm going to go a little bit fast through this and I would like to keep it up for, open it up for some questions from you guys, but there are a couple of items, there are about 5 items that we need to do to be more proactive with our approach towards self-care. One of them is awareness. Really understand what professions we have. Understand the stresses of this profession. Understand that there is burnout. And the more proactive you are with this awareness, the better you are going to be when you are dealing with those items, with those stressful items. Notice that basically monitor your own personal needs, monitor your own personal experience. Be aware of what is going on with you, around you. Be aware of what is going on in the dynamics between you and the client in the therapy room. What's happening with the client and how much of that client's stress you are experiencing. Set realistic expectations and be aware of those realistic expectations. If you set your goal, I guess finances is the easiest one. If you set your goal to be at a certain financial place by a certain month and you are not there and you are getting even more and more clients to get there, what maybe one thing to do is to adjust your goal. So be aware of what you are and how it is impacting you. Let's see, we've got a comment in here from Stacy. Those of you who are doing private practice, something I've done to help manage our situation. Wow, how can I? Joseph, can you please read that for me?
Yeah, it says, those of you who are doing private practice, something I've done to help manage our money situation and having appropriate time off is setting up a separate savings account at our bank called PTO. This has helped our family a lot when we know holidays or vacations are coming up.
Excellent. Wow, that's a great idea. Very good idea. Well, let's go through these slides and let's actually get some ideas from you guys. I will go through those very quickly because I think you know. Balance and harmony. I talked to you a little bit in the beginning. I rather like the idea of harmony because you never can achieve that perfect balance between work and life and family. But harmony is when there are times that you're going to spend more time at work. There are going to be times that you are going to spend more time with your family. But really, harmony has to do with all of these areas of your life, how many you have, you are feeling successful, you're feeling fulfilled in all of those areas without being successful in one and having basically lack of success on the other. So sometimes I joke with my friends and say, I do a lot of things, but none of them are to perfection. And actually, it's not really a bad thing, even though I use it as a joke. But I do a lot of things, and I feel that satisfaction from all of those things that I'm doing. None of them are at the perfect stage where I want them to be. I don't have the time to perfect every single one of them. But what I know is that I've got harmony. And at one point or the other, I will need one of those aspects. They are not at 100%, but they are at a percentage that they are satisfying to me and they help me make feel fulfilled. Something that we can probably, if you are, maybe some ideas for you to practice as you are going to make that commitment to do one thing different to improve your self-care habits. Maybe setting boundaries when it comes to taking that client. I don't know. Time management, flexible schedules, realistic professional goals, something to think about. What's important for the therapist, the more flexible we are, the better we do when it comes to burnout. The ones who are more rigid with their daily schedules, they are the ones who are actually experiencing more burnout. So really adapt to the challenges that you are going to have and be flexible. Be good to yourself. Physical health, um, sleep, exercise, and diet. This is actually my biggest thing that I need to work on. Not enough sleep last night. My exercise, yes, I went on a walk with my dog. I wish it was a little bit more intense, but and my diet, a lot of chocolate, really. But really something to think about. Everybody's self-care is different. You know what you need, you know what your situation is, but choose something that you can start doing. Social support. Seek professional support. Can be supervisors, clinical directors, co-workers, professional conferences, personal therapy, um, and personal support, family, friends. I wouldn't be a good therapy if I did not have therapy there twice. So you can go to therapy for professional reasons. You can go to therapy for family reasons. All of us need a therapist. So if you could do that, that could create a lot of help, help with burnout. Spirituality as well. It gives us purpose. It gives us meaning. It gives us that sense that we're not alone, that we are part of something larger, part of something good, part of something meaningful. And when we know that we are not alone in helping our fellow beings who are in the same journey with us, it gives us a deeper meaning to our work. It gives us a deeper meaning to what we do with our clients. All of you, thank you for what you do. Okay. All right. Um, let's leave that. Let's leave this time for some question and answer. You've got all of this research. They're a little bit small, but when you have some time, Joseph is going to give you those slides so you could actually read some articles. There are some great articles there about burnout. The good thing is that many people are actually researching this topic because it's an important topic. Remember, make a commitment today to choose something that you like to do differently. And it is an ethical requirement for us. Our code of ethic, our professional standards require that we take care of ourselves so we can be the best we can for our clients. Okay. What questions or comments do you guys have? What have you found that works for you? What are some great how do you deal with burnout?
If anyone has any suggestions around blocking off time for doing notation after you see clients, either if you do that at the end of the session or you group it all together at the end of the day, I just want to figure out some best practices around that.
Great question. Anybody?
I comment here if that's okay. One of the things I had to learn as a therapist is that a 50-minute session is okay. I oftentimes found my best sessions, I felt like the last 10 minutes was the best part, but it's also what absolutely burned me out because I had no time for anything else. So a 50-minute session is a full session. That barrier, that boundary helped me out a ton.
Yep. Mhm. You know, one thing that has helped me is I would leave 4 till 5 as the notes and an hour to write my notes. So I'd actually schedule till 4 and then 4 till 5 just not writing. When I worked I work at basically now I'm at Aspen Grove and it's inpatient, but when I worked in a residential, I actually I got into a habit of scheduling all my individual and family therapy sessions from Monday till Thursday. I would pack my week. And then Friday would be a time to do less work, to just catch up with something that I had forgotten, spend more time with my coworkers, maybe get ahead with my things for the next week. So that was something that I really liked. Anybody else? Any other questions, you guys?
It's a really good comment in the chat. Carolee said she does a voice to text to her phone's email as a draft and then dictates the note when she's walking around between sessions. She can copy and paste at the end of the day and edit it.
Chat GPT can be super helpful. Oh, tell us a little bit about that, Shelley.
Well, Chat GPT is probably one of many AI tools. I was talking to somebody the other day that said they used one called Wave.
Uh-huh.
I'm not familiar with that one. It has a cost to it, but as long as you're careful and don't put client information, their name or anything like that in there, it can really um, improve note taking. You can put in the dynamics of the client, their symptoms, where they're struggling, what their goals are, and it'll write you a note. You can say, write me a SOAP note or write me a this or write me a that. And it'll actually do that for you and capture more information that sometimes we capture as therapists.
Uh-huh. That's great. Lessa, your note taking is also, my understanding is that your note taking is also counted on your hour session. So if you are doing 50-minute and you're spending 5 minutes to write the note, you can count that. That's my understanding. Okay. Well, we have 1 minute left, less than 1 minute left, you guys. If there is any other questions, we can answer that. If you have other feedback about what other tools you use to take care of the burnout, that would be great if we could share. If not, that's fine. We got the CEUs and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Vjollca.